Hey guys, yeah, thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so when I found the internet computer was right before the Genesis event. I had crypto was really like a hobby for me. Like I just was really into DeFi and was yield farming across like Binance and some other chains, and was always looking for new LP. And so when I saw that this ICP layer one was launching, I was like, oh, there'll be there'll be dexes over there pretty quick. And so I was checking that out, and the more I just started reading into it, I was just impressed, like at a tech level, more than I'd ever been before when checking out a layer one or layer two solution. And so I kind of just dove in from there. And it really only took me, I think, a few weeks. And like my close friend Chris will tell you the same thing. Like I was within a week, like this is where I want to like work and be. Like nothing compared. Uh, and yeah, from there it just kind of things took off and went their own way, and I met Steven and Bob and Max, and now it feels like the past year and a quarter and a half has just been like a crazy blur, but a lot of fun. Yep, is definitely a big learning curve and a lot of growing pains. And I couldn't be happier where we are today, and only a year later. Yeah, so really all credit has to go to Stephen Andrews, who's the other Stephen on Toniq. He's the developer that is really behind all of the big things we've done. So like the token standard, Stoic wallet, Entrepot Marketplace. Uh, Stephen actually built Entrepot, and it was right after he'd done Chronics, and so Chronics were released really as kind of an experiment about doing on-chain layered assets. And then we were like, it'd be pretty cool if there was somewhere we could like trade these. And then so Steven was like, oh yeah, we could like do something like that. And I think it took him like 3 days. And he came back. He was like, all right, I built a marketplace. And we were like, oh, nice. All right, cool. Very cool. And so it lived in Stoic Wallet. When we first launched it, we didn't take a fee. It was just a place to trade. We didn't even really think about taking a fee at the time. I think it was, I could be wrong, but I believe it was Rick Porter who reached out. Was like, hey, are you guys not taking like anything on this? And we were like, no. We were like, hey, you can. It's a marketplace. We're like, oh yeah, NFT Marketplace. Uh, but yeah, from there it just took off. And what's actually really cool about that is Steven was able to build that before canisters could hold a balance of ICP. And so I don't believe anyone was able to successfully build a NFT marketplace, let alone a non-custodial one, before canisters could actually hold a balance of ICP, which is really cool and just speaks to what he's capable of as a developer. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it's actually really interesting. So uh, Bob I met through. How did I first make contact with him? Is a good question. It may have been through ICP Maximalist Telegram. We were actually both working on other internet computer projects when we first met, just like after work during our day jobs. Like he was doing ICP.guide. I was helping Sebastian with Motoko School. Bob was also he was helping out with like the Learned project. And so we had talked a handful of times. He has his PhD in educational technology, so he's a fantastic resource. Before this job, I worked for Boston University in IT. I built their online MBA was the last project I worked on there. Was the building out and going live with the online MBA program, and so we had similar backgrounds, and so his a little bit more advanced than mine, but we connected over that and just got to talking, and I actually met Steven Andrews, who's the lead developer, CTO, original founder, through a Openchat group I made. When Openchat launched their beta, I made a group called Only Steves, and I added everyone I could find with the username Steve. This was back when Openchat, I think there were like 10,000 people allowed in the app, and you could add anyone that you could find by username, and usernames didn't have to match exactly to find people. So I would type like Steve, Steven, Stevie, all this stuff, and I added like 50 people named Steve to this Openchat group. And Steven Andrews was one of them, and I didn't actually even know, I didn't know anything about him, but he was like, he was probably the most excited person out of anyone in that group. And so that's how we met and connected. Yeah. And so that's how we met. And then Bob actually knew Max from outside of ICP, and so he brought him in. But that's really how I met the whole team. And then Steven's the one that really like brought us from being this after work project. Like that's what it was. I know I was just after work for me for months before I ended my day job, and he's the one that really changed it into what is Toniq, and like built this company. And so it's been really exciting road with those guys. I feel like I've known them my whole life. It's been 16 months, 18 months. Yeah, I'll say that the beginning was the best. There were very few roadblocks in the very beginning because we were just kind of, you know, shooting from the hip at whatever was the most fun thing to build at that time. Like Chronix, Rise of the Magni, Stoic Wallet, and then we're like, oh, we can build a marketplace functionality. We're still working on the token standard exponent platform, which is really the core of everything. And it was really once I would say like we got into the marketplace side of things, that we definitely started to hit some roadblocks, and they were mostly all around scaling. And that's to be expected. We're only a team of 4 full-time people, and so we didn't set out to go and build a marketplace together. This was something that kind of just happened, and so we built it for Chronix, and then a week later we have teams being like, hey, can we launch NFTs with you guys, and we're like, oh, we hadn't really talked about it. And so it just kind of was a moving target, and things changed as we kept going along and trying to figure out what Toniq does. And it turns out that building an NFT marketplace is very difficult, and not just both technically and just from communications and operational perspective. I'll say that I used to really hate OpenSea. I'll say that over the past year, it's given me some perspective, and I'm like, this app isn't so this app isn't so horrible. These guys do an okay job. But when it comes to scaling, right? I'll say few key issues we hit. One is just we would love to just hire a bunch of developers, but there's even let's say we have unlimited funds to go and hire devs. We do everything in Motoko. Steven he built everything from Motoko from the ground up. He loves it. And so for any developers that are going to have significant impact on the canister level, back-end canister level, we need Motoko devs, and Motoko is only a relatively new programming language, so not a ton of Motoko devs out there. And then even once someone is skilled up, they need to be trained up on our code base. And then lastly, then this is kind of one of the biggest issues is permissions and just granting access to the right info. I mean, this isn't like canisters are not these, SaaS products where they already have these great like admin permissions and different levels. Like we're a marketplace. We move funds. We're not just gonna, give out permissions to edit and change canister code that's impacting launches to just anyone, right? And so building up a relationship with someone you trust and onboarding the right people that can make changes at the launch and marketplace level is also probably the biggest challenge, because it's just reluctant, because it's not responsible or safe to projects. Like we need to know that everything is safe. So we eventually have made good progress with bringing on devs and growing the team successfully. But I'll say it's a slow process, and it's not easy. There's still only 4 full-time people. We have a number of part-time and contract employees. I can actually tell you right now, exact number. I want to say it's like, I want to say it's like I think there's 6 or 7 others. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not everything. We'll never solve everything, but that's the that's the mentality you have to have, right? Yeah. Again, it's a small team, so everyone usually, we all wear a lot of hats. But I'm my title is Chief Marketing Officer, and so I do all the normal responsibilities that you would expect with that. I manage our social media accounts, and I write the blog posts and whatever announcements I write, our documentation. And then, so in addition to that, I'm usually, when it comes to the product side of things, I'm probably closest with creators and artists. from out of the people at Toniq Labs, like I'm a normal point of contact. And so when it comes to like product and like for the self minting tool, what we need, I'm usually doing the like any testing or wireframes for different features and things like that. But I'll probably say I spend most of my time just in communication with projects or potential projects in one capacity or another. It's been, I'll say it's been a lot, and I do I do the best I can. I know that it's not always perfect, but it is the part of the job that I enjoy the most, and so I am hoping that I really can focus on that aspect of it going forward the more, which is just working with these creators, because I've been the point of contact on most Entrepot launches, so direct involvement in like 150 of these sales, and so I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't. I feel like I could write the book on ICP NFT launching right now. Oh, interesting. I would say look at recent launches, look at past launches, when you're at least when you're deciding how to price, when you're deciding price, and if you unless you're set on quantity for a certain reason, look at quantity and price, volume and targets of all of the past launches, even like the past 100, because sometimes people just it way over or way undershoot, and you can pretty easily gauge just by what people are targeting and what people are meeting in terms of sales. So it's just, I would say look at what other people, how they've done, and uh, use that to help benchmark yourself when you're coming to pricing, supply, and your launch parameters in general. We'll say two pieces of advice for your actual sale, right? So not larger project building. We'll just talk about your actual launch. I know that's the big day that a lot of projects lead up to, right? And so I would say look at the past, look what people have done, but then also when you are uh, when you're getting ready for your sale and you're looking at your community versus your supply, really take the time to understand that like not everyone, not even half, right, of your Discord is going to purchase an NFT most likely, right? And so when you get your whitelist, query the addresses, see if they've made purchases before. Understand, like if you have 1,000 people on your whitelist, that's great. But if 50 of them, only 50 of these addresses have purchased an NFT before from a mint or from Entrepot, like you're probably looking at more like 50 or 40 people, right, that are actually going to purchase. And with that community size, I mean, take into account if you're doing giveaways where you're asking for follows and Discord joins, keep a workbook of your social follows and minus those. Just subtract those from your account because they're not legitimate followers, right? And which is fine. Like it doesn't mean they're not beneficial. When you have more followers on your account, the Twitter algo wants to push more people towards you, type of thing, right? It just helps. It does help grow your project, but those aren't real potential people that are actually going to purchase. And so just really temper expectations about how big your community should be based on the nature of your project and the engagement that you're seeing. There's a lot of analysis that can go into your social accounts that I think is just not done, and it can be pretty basic and still be pretty helpful. Yeah, actually, yeah, yeah. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you set up 100 bots and once a month you get an NFT worth 10 grand. Like that's true. We could definitely do a whole podcast on just building and growing an NFT project, and defining your vision. What's your mission? What is the NFT? So many NFTs are just, or like, how does the artwork translate? There are there's who how are you marketing? What do you have for design? Is there plans? No plans? How you position licensing, content licensing? Like we could meet a whole show. Yeah, yeah. We could do a whole podcast. Yeah, so definitely want to talk about this because I think it's probably the most. Everyone has an opinion on how like Entrepot should handle both of these cases, and I think it's important first that we just, before I even get into that at all, we break down the two things we're looking at, right? So there's rug pulls on one hand, so like you have a scam, and then you have someone that's just violating copyright or trademark, right? And so, can you prevent rug pulls? No, I you can't do it for two very simple reasons, and it's that people are unpredictable. Individual humans are unpredictable and have unpredictable behavior. And two is that uh, the right to remain anonymous is something that we respect in Web3, right? And so with those two things combined, and the fact that a rug pull is probably one of, I think, the most overused terms in in the crypto NFT world, because we just label anything a scam that isn't successful. And so rug pull, even to me, is, I don't even associate with the word scam anymore. It's project that's no longer active for whatever reason. And so there's really no way to tell for sure if a project's just dipped, that just took off, had no intention of ever doing what they were going to say. We don't know if they ran out of money really trying their best to make this happen. We don't know if they got hit by a bus and there was one guy on the team and he's just gone now. These are just variables that are we can't know for sure, and so there's often no way to really tell if a team, like, they're sure it may be the team, like sometimes you'll see on like either, we've seen in the past on other chains, not yet on ICP, where someone like changes their website to be like, we took all your money, losers. Like, then it's a rug, like they said that it's a rug, and so that's like, yeah, we can confirm. But in most cases, the what people call a slow rug, which is kind of a funny term because uh, I feel like most of the time it just means failed business venture. It's like, okay, so they tried and couldn't do it. You don't expect someone to just work for free, right? If like a business fails, you don't, and like runs out of money, you don't typically keep, unless you own it, and you don't typically keep working there. I don't know. It's a weird thing where you don't pursue failed businesses, right? That just makes sense to me, at least. And so no one can prevent rug pulls. That's the bottom line, right? Now, stolen art, copyright infringement, definitely things that can be prevented against. And so really the most important thing isn't the Entrepot process, which we'll talk about, but it's just fostering a ecosystem and a community where we actually respect copyright and we respect IP ownership, because we're not the bottom line, right? And so anyone can go and build a marketplace and be like, yeah, we allow the buying and selling of, stolen artwork here. Like, violate copyright all you want, decentralization forever. There are no laws. And so that's possible. But if you have a community of people that respect that, a similar thing going on with like SudoSwap over on ETH, where they're not, they're cutting out creator royalties. And so it's just about, building in people that are going to see that and say, no, I'd rather pay the creator royalty than not, because that's how you support these projects, right? And so supporting and respecting IP. And so I'll say our current process, just because this person asked, and so if they're curious, we get form submissions in. We actually to get into the launch tool, and so those come in. Typically, I'm the one that just looks through them, although anyone on the team can go through. Now with this newest form, we look, and the user has the option to upload sample artworks as well as a proof of authorship file if they'd like to. And so I'll go in, I'll look at that. And so long as I do a quick reverse Google image search on sample artworks they send in, but again, this is someone who's getting granted access to a tool that they can use multiple times. So just because they submit sample artworks doesn't mean I can confirm everything they're going to mint is fine, right? But I'll do a quick look, and they get into the system and go through the process. And then what happens is they will fill out everything for their mint or sale and then submit for review. And so we go in and we do a review of all the materials. And so typically my focus during the actual review is on input formats and stuff. So was pricing input in ICP, or does this look like they thought it was USD, or did they not do per unit, like things like that, like whitelist formatted correctly, is it too many columns, that sort of thing. But what we do is I do open up and we look through all the artworks. We make sure that they're named correctly and go through. And we've started to take this, because there's been a lot of discussion about this lately, copyright, especially when it comes to like company logos and things. And so what we'll do is now I'll go through and I'll just flip through so make sure I can see all the layers. And if I do notice any issues like, like a company name or a trademarked logo that's pretty clear, I'll reach out to the team and, just let them know that, XYZ could send a DMCA takedown notice, for this, right? And if necessary, just make the changes. And artists are typically like, oh, didn't know that. That's no problem. Didn't realize that was trademarked, and they're happy to change it to avoid, legal issues. Yeah, so that depends if the NFT is generated on chain or not. Whether it's changing one asset or changing like however many it appears on. We do have the ability to update visuals for canisters that are still hot, and it's not something. It's typically only used for fixes, but in the event that there is, like a logo used that shouldn't be used, and they want to, alter it slightly. It's a good question, because we haven't actually done that, where we made changes to a collection that was live just for trademark. Yeah, sure. Yep. Definitely, we'll make changes if we'll make changes to NFTs. If there's errors or if stuff isn't rendering properly. It's interesting. about changing NFTs based on the trademark. I don't know if I personally love the idea, but it should be possible. And if it avoids lawsuits, I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, I think we need to discuss more internally first. I'll say it's definitely changed since you guys launched. Do you remember how many collections were on when you guys launched? Real low, right? Yeah, it's definitely changed. I do still talk to all the collections that launch, although we've definitely really started to like redefine our model when it comes to how do we want people to get on board, and so um, we want Entrepot to be a permissionless platform. That is the ultimate goal, right? And so once the launch tool is in a place where no one's making mistakes, it's very clear, it's been polished, good review process, all that sort of stuff, like it'll just be made public, right? With the amount of people we're bringing on, it's not it's not so much necessary to do a whole video interview and review, just because we're aiming to be a permissionless platform, so the odds of us saying no based on an interview that we couldn't pick up from just literally the artwork and what has been produced is low. Projects are still welcome to meet with me, and I'm always open to have a call or chat. There's not like it's off the table, but it's just no longer required. Again, we believe that it should be the community, right? That's really deciding which projects are the most successful, right? And so you can how we it's kind of like we want to take steps towards decentralization before just like dropping the hammer and shooting out a governance token left and right, and all of a sudden it's like out of our hands, right? And so steps towards decentralization while steps towards becoming truly permissionless incrementally, right? Because you just go all at once and like you open everything up and you just decentralize, and all of a sudden it's like chaos, right? You don't know what's going to happen. So what we've been trying to do is take steps in that direction, right? And so that was like self-launch tool. We got some people in it. Now we just opened up phase 2 yesterday. So if anyone, yesterday will be the 14th for anyone who's in the future, can go in and just submit the form. Like we're just taking request forms based on general interest. Yeah. Yeah. People need to point fingers at someone. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. I think, yes, I also think that we can do more to help facilitate that. And so that's, a lot of what we're thinking about is, yes, like community should be the ones doing this, but, we can help facilitate and we can help, make that happen. And so we're looking into a few ideas. Um, if for instance, you can imagine that everyone who's ever interacted with the platform has a score, right, that you get based on like your wallet value or like NFTs minted, right, whatever it is, different metrics, anything but trading volume, honestly. um, and so you can imagine you get a score, and these could be like, you think about discover orbs, like non transferable tokens, that you can perhaps allocate to projects, right? And so it could be that you have a dynamic amount or you have a fixed amount. You can upvote this project 200 times and you can downvote that one 200 times. And those votes help determine, what shows up at the top of the launch pad. And maybe if you get 1,000 downvotes, it's like you're off. There's a million ways that it could be done. But I think that what we can do better is helping build those tools to allow the community to properly take over, right, while not requiring a fully decentralized platform like right out the bat. And then at the same time, and I'm kind of taking a step backwards here, like you have teams like Mod Club, right, where when you're now looking for stolen artwork or copyright, like, yes, like I am going to miss some. And I do fall back on the community, like prior to launch, to like, if they identify, that's great. Like I jump right in, and if I miss something, I apologize. When you have more than just me who's taking a random selection of NFTs out of the collection and reverse Google image searching them to try and find an exact match. And then even then you can't tell for sure. Sometimes it's like vague, and who knows if they have a license for it or if it is licensed. And so when you have teams like Mod Club that are building decentralized moderation for that purpose, and then you combine it, and that's the legal side, and then you combine it with community building tools that express how the community feels about a project in a less quantitative way, more just about vibes, team, like I like this one for whatever reason. I think you get something that's really great, and so really looking forward to whatever that future is. Anyone who thinks that there's not going to be some blue chip down the road that does some big loop de loop and takes half our money is self-minting tool has become a kind of a catch-all phrase to describe a few things that are in a few stages of development. And so there's the very first self-minting tool, and I wonder if it's still there. I wonder if anyone even knows about it. This is way earlier. Uh, okay, so yeah, there's actually, if this is fun, I'll tell you guys, because no one can do anything with it. But if you go to entrepot.app /mint, it'll take you to a page that says you have no loaded canisters. And if you did have loaded canisters, you would see select canister, choose files, mint as NFT, bulk transfer, bulk lift. And that was like super basic version 1. And we use that for mostly internal stuff, just to like pick up on airdrops and mints. What the self-minting tool has become is there's two parts, really two, I'll say there's two main self-minting tools, right? And so you have Toniq Mint. And so Toniq Mint is what we're calling the no-code self-launch application, which it runs on the internet computer. And so this is like it's a front end to interact with all public methods on the canister. So you don't actually need the tool. You could actually go into IC Scan and set up a launch right from there. But this is the no-code front end for interacting with that canister. And so this is where you go in and you set up a collection with all your collection info, social links, royalty address, amount. And then with that collection, you can then have multiple launches. And a launch is an instance where NFTs are minted and distributed, right? So one collection could have 4 launches, your 4 different instances of mint and distribution, all into one collection, right? And as we, version 1 of the self-minting tool a while ago had a slightly different structure around like whitelist public sale. It was more rigid. And so we moved away from that model and not completely rewrote, but did a redesign of how the sale groups work with the purchase groups and public sales, and have something that just is really amazing right now. And so you go in, you can set up, I want to do an airdrop 1,000 NFTs, I want to save 10 for the team, I want to do a sale. And then with your sale, with what we have is something called pricing groups. And so a pricing group within a launch has a start date, it has an end date. It has its own pricing, it can be public or it can have its own private purchase list, right? It can have a limit on the number of NFTs a single address can purchase, and it has a limit on the number of NFTs that can be purchased from that whole group. And you can have an unlimited number of these groups. By pre-sale, you mean like someone who pays a small amount of ICP to get on a whitelist? Because that's what pre-sale is. Yeah, totally. I mean, you could have a different group of addresses that each can start to purchase an hour later, after the other one, and you could do that all day. You could do 10 public groups where every 10 minutes the price increases, or with maybe it's not every 10 minutes, maybe there's 10 groups at 10 different prices, and only 100 can be purchased from each group. So the cheapest group 100, next group 100, this group 100. Like, we can do those dynamic pricing rounds, like that sort of stuff, like really easily now. You could do a Dutch auction this way, where you have 100 groups, and every 5 minutes the previous group ends and the next one starts, and the price is lower. Like, you can do some really robust stuff that we haven't seen a lot of yet, but I've been working on in our documentation, which is on the create page of Entrepot. I've started adding some examples of how you could really use this setup creatively, in the template section. Almost. I'll say almost without our intervention. You can do it pretty much without ever interacting with me if you don't want to. If you don't like my face or something, that's fine. You can, if you go onto the create page, submit that form. You'll get an email from me. It's just when I approve it, there's an email that goes to you with all the information you need. And so once approved, you'll have access to the tool. And then you can go into the tool, and then once you're done setting up everything, you click there's a little submit for review button, and I get pinged when that gets submitted, and I'll take a look. And again, this whole step, the submit for review, me reviewing to the minting step, is all just, it's not because we want to gatekeep, it's because I have definitely noticed that there are like common mistakes that are being made in the tool. And so just like working with front end devs, so like clarifying language and like maybe like, whatever we can add to make it really clear before we remove that step. And so I'll go in and I'll make any obvious changes that need to be done. If I need to reach out to the team, I'll talk to them. And then once it looks good, then it just changed status to completed, and it gets picked up by one of our workers and gets minted, and the launch page gets launched. And I'll do a QA on all the assets after, make sure that everything, uploaded correctly, and, thumbnails look good, and from there it's off. But yeah, the whole process could be automated. We have these manual steps in there more just to review and test and make sure that everything's working properly along the way. Yeah, so I'll say that we've been using versions of the self minting tool for a while now. There, because it basically worked as the best way to just get information into us, even if it wasn't 100% automated. But with the full minting automation, as in like literally we change the status, it gets picked up, it gets minted, it gets pushed. I believe at least the last 6 or 7 projects have all gone through that, where it's literally a click of a button, and fully automated. But I'll say most projects went through a earlier version of like version 1 of self mint, which required more steps. But yeah, the probably last 6, 7, maybe 10 projects that I've gone through have been just, it's been like, it feels so good. Like I am just like ecstatic about it. I can't tell you. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, so this was like the first time we encountered what will, inevitably happen again at some point to someone. Which is the fact that the internet computer has a reverse gas model, and canisters on standard subnets that we have now. It's possible that in the future there will be, I imagine, like storage specialized subnets, right, where this doesn't happen. But basically, the turtles canister just ran out of cycles, and no one noticed for who knows how long. And what happens when a canister runs out of cycles? It's where on Ethereum you don't need that, because when you pay when you use an application, right? Whereas on the IC, it's much more like a traditional Web2 experience where that the burden to pay is passed on to the developer, right? Pay for computation, just like you would on AWS. Oh no, yeah, no, turtles. Wrapped turtles is our canister, which was topped off. Anyone that launches through the Toniq Mint tool, and then as long as we retain control, these canisters are added to our auto top off system, and so anytime a canister falls below 20 trillion cycles, it just gets automatically topped up from the Toniq wallet. And so this is far above whatever it would take for something like turtles to happen to an Entrepot canister. There's a number of reasons for that. One is just that like 20 trillion is a lot. You don't even start running into issues with canisters until you get closer to like 1 to 3 trillion cycles versus 20. And so even then, once you hit once the canister like runs out of cycles to the point that NFTs can't be transferred or transacted, people notice, right? And so when people notice, you just top it up, because it's not like it just dies on the spot. Like there's no warning. It'll stop working, and then it'll take some time, like, depending on what you have, what the canister's doing. Like it could be days or weeks before it actually, what happens to turtles, where it just kind of goes dark, right? Yeah, it'll all happen at once. And the first thing that'll happen, assuming it's the NFT canister, not an asset canister, is you won't be able to transfer, buy, or sell, or list on the marketplace. So anything that updates anything on the NFT canister, which you can see, there's like an IC scan button on all collections. You click that, and then I think you have to click next to the icon. It brings you to it shows all the candid. And so anything that updates anything there is no longer gonna work. You'll still be able to see images, but that's because assets are stored in separate canisters, which also need to be topped off, but slightly different. Yeah. I could be wrong about this. I actually think that turtles may have been tradable because we maintain the wrapped turtles canister. And so that canister was fine. And when you have a wrapped NFT, it's just a one-to-one NFT of the original. And so even though the original turtle was being held by the canister, the wrapped turtle was okay. And so I think people were actually buying and selling the wrapped ones, but the original one wasn't topped. But I'm actually not sure about that and how trading was during that time period. So the original Turtles canister, I think cartographer from DGDG, I believe he had a data backup of this and was working with the Turtles team. I don't know if how far he got or if he completed it, or I thought that he had worked with them to get it fixed, but I'm not sure if it ever was completely. Yeah, I'll say that it's going to be really interesting to see how people maintain cycles balance going forward. I mean, I've always I could see even just it could be as easy as displaying the balance on the marketplace. That wouldn't have helped Turtle's original canister, of course, though. So it's hard to say, but yeah, it's an interesting challenge that's unique to the internet computer. Which there's it's not the only one, but it's an interesting one, and I think it'll be cool to see the tools and processes that people come up with to keep it from happening. Yep, I think in the future I mean I don't work for DFINITY and I don't control what they do. I think it would be cool. They could probably set up storage subnets where similar to like IPFS, you pay once and you get lifetime storage, and it's really less of there's like maybe no consensus, and it's just decentralized storage, like it's just literally infrastructure as a service. And so that would be really cool if you could just have persistent storage subnets to host assets, and then your images never go away. I think we touched on pretty much everything. Oh, I will say one more thing. I mentioned this a second ago. So when it comes to self minting, I said there are two things, right? There's Toniq Mint, which is the no code tool, and I'll say the other big thing is the Exponent CLI tool. And so for anyone that's more technical or has like this tool is a little bit more flexible in terms of when you mint and how many. It just does minting either to your wallet or to a list of addresses, and is just can just be done right from the your command line, and manage wallets, um, mint NFTs, airdrop NFTs, really easy to use, and really excited to be rolling that out. The last thing we have to add is just a payment gateway to cover cycles costs for canister creation. Um, and so you'll go in and you'll we're again there's no Entrepot fee or Toniq fee on this tool. It's just we just need to add a gateway so you can pay the cycles it needs to create your canisters, or else someone could go in and just upload 6 terabytes of you know their cat, and it would cost us everything we own. So just adding that, just adding that in before we'll go live with that. Yeah, it's easier. It's easier than you think. And there is a video out now on our YouTube channel on how to use it. You could, I actually think you could go in and use it. It might be out of cycles. We don't keep it topped up because again, someone could just go in and drain it. But if you wanted to install it and check it out, or to just see how it works, you're more than welcome to. You could probably even throw some cycles at it and mint something. But yeah, if you wanted to, if you want to mint an NFT, 1,000, 10,000, probably get up to 70,000 before we need to splice the registry or something. Then just fill out that form on the create page, and we'll get you in there. We want to have more people, more from different artistic backgrounds, different project visions. Just really excited to get people in there. I am as well. It's also merge day. We didn't even talk about it once. I am trying to get an invite to this. There's a party that the Boston Dow is throwing, and I'm on the wait list, and I'm very upset about it because it sounds Boston Dow is just this. You can check them out on Twitter. It's a group of crypto enthusiasts from Boston, which is where I born, raised, still live, have never left, probably never will. And so they're throwing a party tonight, and they do these get-togethers every once in a while. But this is like the big merge party, and I got on the RSVP list late, and so I've been waiting for my waiting list text all day. But that's what I'm trying to do tonight. Could be like it's like St. Patty's, I imagine, but probably just as fun. Hey, it's Steve. No, I don't. I can't. I don't have influence like that. 125 people are available in slots. There was like 20 of us on the waiting list last time I checked. Not like a concert. 125. I think the room that's booked out has a capacity of 125. It looks like crypto macro. All right. I I am a strange person to ask about this because I have the weirdest luck when it comes to crypto. And so, do I think we've hit the bottom? No. I think we could go lower. And I personally, I'm probably expecting another 2 years bear before we see any real price action. I mean, that's just my take. I could be wrong. ETH Merge could. I don't know. I don't know. ETH Merge going to moon us, but it could do something. But I personally, I think we have another 2 years of just chopping to the right before we see anything real fun, like big, some woos and oohs there, but unless you're a pretty active day trader with some, looking for some decent but small margins. I mean, I think we're just going to chop right for 2 years. Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, minor price action stuff here and there, but I don't see that enthusiasm. Like, yes, like crypto people, ETH Merge, awesome. We love that. Now, my neighbor, like on the balcony, who's like pumped because he just 10x'd on Filecoin, is like not really caring right now about ETH Merge, right? And so it'll take some time for people to kind of forget about crypto because right now people are in the like, oh, that's done. And so people need to kind of forget about it, do some life stuff, and then it's just got to come back into the scene. Like it's still too early, I think, for another bull run. Like people need to feel that euphoria around it that happens during a bull. Oh, I thought you gave it air quotes. I thought you gave me air quotes. We used to cut our hair. I'm like, what does that mean? What is this code? I'll say that there's nothing that the price can do that will surprise me. Like whatever happens, I will remain unshocked because that is just what this industry is, you know. Yep, merge day. Yep, I'll see you around and we'll talk soon. Thanks again.